Hey y'all, welcome back. It's Contessa here with your daily dose of nonsense on the web. I hope you all are having a wonderful Friday. I know it's a holiday weekend, so I anticipate a lot of you will be out of town for the weekend, enjoying one of the last weekends of summer. In this stream, we are going to go over one of Molly's uploads from yesterday, which would have been September 1st, 2022. If you're asking, Contessa, what are you up to today? Well, you're about to find out. And I say, strap your seatbelts up tight because this is going to be rough. So let's buckle up because I'm going to try and give you an overall update using Molly's little 8-minute live that she posted yesterday. And yes, we will be going over the one she did later in the day on September 1st, 2022, coming up very shortly. I just need to get an update out there about why it's even important that we're still talking about this at this point. Again, I say buckle up because this one might be a little rougher with a little more of actual Contessa's opinions and or thoughts on the current situation. I will try to keep my cursing to a minimum in this video, but if I do curse a few times, I apologize in advance for that. MollyGoLightly has had a lot to say on the Marvon McCray situation. As you all know, she is what they consider an exclusive creator to the family of Marvon McCray, the biologic family of Marvon McCray. Again, Marvon was adopted when he was a child by his great-grandmother and great-grandfather. His great-grandfather has since passed away, but his great-grandmother, his adoptive mother, is still alive. Marvon has been in a coma for a little over 15 weeks at this point in time, but let's get into Molly's video from yesterday.
Finally, oh crap, I'm on my way to a hair appointment. So, yeah, I'm so excited because I'm getting a lot of messages posted on my YouTube videos saying that they're glad that I'm happy that they are investigating Letitia and I. So that's very interesting, and I am glad that they are doing that.
And of course, with true Molly fashion, she starts off her video with a bunch of word salad, basically stating that people are commenting on her post, saying that they're glad that she's happy that she and Letitia are being investigated. However, I don't really think that this looks like happy Molly, if you ask me. But something interesting that many of you don't know is that when I had a conversation with Letitia about a week ago, Letitia herself told me that there was an open investigation because of the harassment that authorities had been contacted and gotten involved. Letitia herself told me that in a message. Don't believe me? Oh, I'll put it in here for you. I'm really confused by Molly's confusion about an investigation when Letitia herself told me that all of this had been being reported to the authorities. So why is it shocking all of a sudden that there's an investigation? Because if they've claimed that the family has been harassed nonstop about this refund stuff, right, and the donations, then if they made a report to authorities, they would have absolutely included that information, correct? The harassment had to come from somewhere, is my thought. And they've all said it started with the refunds and a certain creator. But yesterday, we all learned that that's not actually where their problem started. And what they're also not telling you was refund requests had started happening right away. Not just after these creators got involved, and not just off of GoFundMe. Because once these creators got involved, they started using Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, and anything else they could besides GoFundMe. And some of you might not be familiar why they do that instead of using GoFundMe, but the reason is because they can't be traced then. Donations cannot be traced as easily, and refunds are not issued as easily on those apps. PayPal's a little bit better, but Cash App itself is almost impossible to get a refund ever. So we've all seen that Letitia has claimed she's being harassed by certain people. Yet, once again, they've not shown any of this harassment. Not at all. None of us have seen it. Not saying it didn't happen, because I know people get wild in these situations and people start going crazy and sending things that, of course, I don't agree with. But to claim that they're being harassed to the point that authorities get involved, that's one thing. And then now to act like Molly's shocked that there's an investigation. Did you not know Letitia was telling people that this had been reported to authorities? Oh, wait, that everybody had made reports to authorities?
Last time we talked to Letitia, which was the day that I left Chicago. So I'd say that was like what, the day before? Tuesday. Yeah, day before yesterday. Tuesday.
And again, we know that Molly went on a little staycation to Chicago, which is fine. And I'm sure her and Letitia didn't have contact throughout the entire thing. But Molly herself has stated to all of us that her and Letitia talk on the daily. So now she's saying that she hadn't talked to her in days, basically, that she was out of the loop. Um, well, that's really interesting because Wynette and Marvon Sr. actually went live with Molly when she was in Chicago. Does anybody forget about that? You know, the time that Wynette picked up the phone and called Dre and left her a message when she was live with Molly? And let's be clear on something there too. I understand that Marvon Sr. and Wynette want to go back and see Marvon Jr. in the hospital, but they have not made any effort until that live with Molly. They didn't even return Dre's apology text message until they were live with Molly. So you want updates on your son and want to know where he's at, but yet you don't even respond to her apology for getting you confused with Letitia at the hospital, which was back in June. And then randomly at the end of August, you pop up and call her while you're live with Molly. Does that make sense of why she would be so hesitant to give you information? And once again, it is, in my opinion, that all of this could have been avoided. Absolutely could have been avoided if this would not have ever came to social media, because social media has done nothing for this family besides cause further divide and issues. And even those who had good intentions in the beginning started really falling off that track by playing a lot of follow the leader. When in reality, I wish a lot of those people would have paused, stopped, gathered factual information to pass off to their followings, because now we're trying to go backwards and explain how we got here. And unfortunately, the damage has been done on so many pieces of this. And I know it starts to sound super redundant, like I'm hammering home the same information, because trust me, I feel like I'm spinning a hamster wheel over and over and over again. But rewatching a lot of this, people are starting to piece things together. And I hope that it's helping in some way, shape, or form, at least correct some of these missteps that have been taken. And once again, I'm not asking any of you to be pro Dre and accept everything that you've seen her do. That is not what I've asked anybody at all, ever. What I'm asking for you to do is take a look at the facts. The facts are Marvon was adopted by his great-grandparents. He had a very estranged relationship with his biologic parents. They had attempted to reconnect multiple times. They were making efforts still to this day to rekindle that relationship. And most all of us agree that in the beginning, we all felt that Letitia and Marvon Sr. should be allowed to see their son. We absolutely all felt that way. I think even Dre felt that way because she was going to allow it. Yet then things started to go downhill. Let's continue.
Said, we told her about it, and we said, hey, have you heard anything about, Savannah police, if they contacted you? And she said, oh my God, no, what happened? And you're like, oh no, we were just wondering because somebody with the Savannah Police Department filed a complaint. Okay, well, she said she never heard anything about it. You would think by now that they would have called since Monday. Supposedly it's about some pregnant woman who wants her money back.
And again, we don't have any proof of how this conversation actually went between Molly and Letitia, because Molly is not the best narrator at all. She kind of gets off track and fills in a lot of gaps with shock factor. But I'm instantly taken back to my conversation with Letitia. Letitia herself, yes, I confirmed that that's 100% Letitia. She told me that authorities had been contacted. Granted, she told me that because she was talking about the harassment that she had claimed was happening. Okay, you can see my response. I posted it before. I said, good, because again, if she's being harassed, why not have it investigated? If that's what's really happening, that would be the first step. Just like if you're being denied a refund and somebody promises to pay you, you have legal course of action to take.
I thought that everyone that asked for a refund got it. And
She says, I thought everyone who asked for a refund got it. Molly, people have been telling you that the people who have asked for refunds, none of them have gotten a refund. You keep trying to spin that back around on this side of things and saying, show proof of the refunds you all got. How can we show proof of refunds that have been issued when there isn't a single refund that has been issued off of any other platform than GoFundMe? GoFundMe is the only platform that anybody has gotten a refund off of, to my knowledge. I have heard that there was rumblings about a $20 refund that potentially was issued to someone. I have not seen proof of said refund at all so far to this point. At this point, I have seen zero proof of a single refund. I have seen the requests, but zero refunds.
then I said, don't refund people because it's a donation. And I'm completely right.
Molly states that she told Letitia to not refund anymore whatsoever. When did Letitia start refunding, Molly? Can you give us a date, please? That would be really helpful. Not only would the dates be helpful that the refunds started, but they also claimed that all of these refunds were being sent to people that never donated in the first place. So again, my question is, there was people who were actually asking for refunds, putting in refund requests. Not only did you guys deny the refund requests, but then admin from the Justice for Vaughn group helped Letitia figure out how to block people from requesting cash apps. And then you guys took it further on your stream, Molly, and taught Letitia how to unlink her card so people couldn't request refunds and nothing would be automatically taken either. So you didn't just tell her to stop refunding people.
So for me saying don't refund people, it's a donation. I actually stick to that.
I think Molly has what I call sometimers. She sometimes remembers things that she says and other times conveniently forgets them. I think she also conveniently has forgotten that her and Letitia went live, and during that live, people brought up the topic of refunds, and Letitia told people herself that they could ask for refunds and she would grant those refunds. You remember that, Molly, or are you still forgetting? Because if you do forget, I have that clip if you need to see it. And the fact of the matter is, they're not done collecting on this fundraiser. They are still actively seeking donations. For what exactly? Nobody's quite sure of. But the refunds that they told people they would get if they requested it have not been followed through with at all.
So if that implicates me, that's absolutely fine. Hershey police know where I'm at all the time. All the time.
And right back into the typical antics. Hershey police know where she's at all times. Why would Hershey police know your location or where you're at all times? Why would they even be concerned about that? Is it because you're that problematic that they have to know where you are? Or is it because they get that many calls on you? What is it? Because that makes zero sense to me. At all. And as far as anyone implicating her in anything, the only thing on this channel that we discuss is my opinion and or their behaviors as noted in their streams, their own content. Basically, we're using their own words to explain the story of how we got here. So as far as implicating you in anything, that wouldn't be me over here. But I will say, once again, that you are an absolute opportunist. 100%.
So, I'm glad that this is going to happen. Although
this screams the look of somebody that is so glad that this is going to happen, doesn't it? But once again, I'm left with, why is she so uneasy seeming about an investigation? They have claimed, and we've all heard it, that the family has been harassed, threatened, so on and so forth. We have all heard those stories almost on a daily. So if that's happening and it stems from people that have asked for refunds or was started by a creator with people asking for refunds, which isn't the truth, and we know that. But let's just say, let's follow their line of thinking for a minute. Wouldn't you be the ones to want it investigated, since they're the victims, as you call them? Letitia herself seemed pretty confident that an investigation was going to be started because authorities had been contacted. Molly.
I have to say that all these numbers that are being thrown around that Letitia made, I sincerely doubt 40,000, and I most certainly doubt 80,000.
I don't know the full amount that has been sent to Letitia or to Marvon Sr. and Wynette. I know it's up there. So fundraising started June 26th for Letitia Bias. She started a GoFundMe on the 26th and put her Cash App up shortly after. Nobody really knows the amounts that were being sent to her at that time. The first update she gave, she was sitting at a little over $5,000. By the 11th, she had almost $8,500. By the 14th, or the 15th, she had almost $14,000 was the accounting that we've heard people talk about that had direct communication with Letitia. But let's be clear, not a single update that Letitia gave to anybody came with any proof of those numbers. People have gone through and tried to get an accounting. The last number that I had received was over $67,000. I do not know if that's even close, if it's way too high. Nobody knows besides Letitia herself. And you guys can disagree with me on that 100%. Everybody's entitled to their own opinions. However, I do not think that Letitia was giving updates to the creators about how much she was getting, or the admins that had any proof for them to say 100%, this is exactly what she had at this point in time. She was giving them very generic numbers. Very generic numbers. But she was making almost $2,000 a night when Molly would talk about this. And it has been 15 weeks that he's been in a coma. So at least 8 weeks. 8 weeks of them knowing and being involved. Figures were dropped by Letitia herself in one of their group chats.
We just got a bunch of really weird, crazy people acting up.
Weird, crazy people acting up. Well, I guess if the shoe fits, you should probably strap that bitch on and wear it, because I think the only people that are really weird and crazy and acting up are ones, well, anyways, they're not over here. Over here, it's filled with people who actually have really valid concerns, because what they were originally donating for turned out to be something completely different than what has happened. Do you forget the lives that you guys did finding Letitia the paperwork on how to get in to see Marvon without an attorney? Do you forget about that? So you put that out there to people, which confused people because they were like, oh, she doesn't even need to have an attorney. There's no need for funds. Then people were thinking, okay, it's for travel. And we've all heard how many different stories of how many different trips, but there's no proof to that either.
To be quite honest, when I woke up, the first thing I thought of was Marvon.
Of course, here she goes with the emotional pull. The first thing I thought of when I woke up this morning was Marvon. Well, that might be true. Maybe Marvon was on her mind. Maybe he is weighing heavy on her conscience. I would really hope so at this point in time. But one thing I will have to mention is you surely have no problem demeaning his story and or his name. You have mocked people with mental illness while covering and being the exclusive creator for a family that is dealing with a son in a coma from an incident that he tried to unalive himself. No matter what your opinions are, you have to acknowledge that this story is filled with mental health crisis. And for her to openly mock other people while simultaneously covering Marvon's story is disgusting.
And how he was doing. And I'm wondering, am I the only person that's sitting around wondering how he's doing?
Again, back to the, am I the only person sitting around worried about him? Of course you're not, Molly. You're not even related. You're not any way, shape, or form connected to this case. Do you understand the amount of people that have a personal relationship to Marvon, that are worried sick about him and those children on a daily basis? Not only that, people that are worried about Dre and or the rest of the family. There is many people that are concerned about all of them, especially Marvon, because unlike you understand, just because people are questioning Letitia's intentions, that doesn't mean anything about Marvon. Not one thing. Marvon doesn't have a voice in this, and that's what you're failing to miss. Is you claim to be a voice for him, but you're not at all.
And it's a little bothersome because, you know, this bullshit about me and Letitia being in on some sort of game.
So now it's bullshit because people are asking for refunds after you told them that they could get refunds. Letitia herself told people that. So excuse me, but tell me how it's exactly bullshit that they were told they could ask for refunds, that they would get their refunds. And then because you decided that you didn't want Letitia to give any more refunds, Letitia just stopped. Why would Letitia continually take your advice when it's absolutely put her in worse positions? Do you know that if she would have came out and shown just a couple receipts of even travel, people would have never asked any further questions? Do you get that? But she's taking your advice constantly through this. You're her advisor. And now you're going to call it bullshit. It's bullshit because you haven't followed up to any of the things you guys have said you would do. None of you.
Is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I'm hoping that someone's reaching out to me and coming to the house. I prefer they come to the house than just call me, but Hershey police think it's easier to call. I would rather them just come to the house and talk to me if this is like a real thing.
If this is like a real thing. Honey, Letitia, you know, the lady that you claim to talk to on a daily basis, told me a week ago that authorities has been contacted because of the harassment that she had been receiving. So again, please explain to me how you're confused that an investigation would have been started in this situation. I don't care what side it came from, but Letitia's out here telling people that authorities were getting involved already. So how are you confused by authorities being involved? And I don't know if they want anything to do with you at all. You have your own stuff that you've been trying to do with a lady that's been mentally ill. That's been your attempt at content lately. While being the exclusive creator for Marvon McCray's family, you have found it your mission to take out a lady that's suffering from mental health.
I'll hand over my bank account statements. I'll hand over my phone and they can take it for a while.
And straight to more dramatics. I'll hand over my bank account statements. First and foremost, Molly, we all understand that you're a creator and that you are absolutely profiting off of this story. We get that. The issue at hand is all of that money that's been sent to you for Letitia. You know, that one refund that somebody sent to you to send to Letitia that you said that you declined because it was a donation and you had already forwarded on the money, that put you in a bad position because that's how you got involved in the refund stuff. Right there. Because people were sending money to you and still are. Today, finally, I think you clarified and said, please don't do that. I'll put her information up. But you should have done that from the start. It's nobody else's fault that you are in the spot that you are in currently but your own.
But until then, right now, I feel like everything is... I feel like at this point, nobody really gives a shit about this guy.
And what a slap in the face of the family that you're supposedly working with or beside to get the story out. That nobody gives a shit about this guy. First of all, his name is Marvon McCray. He is a U.S. Marine veteran. Do you forget that, Molly? There's a lot of people that actually care about Marvon, fully care about Marvon, and are not profiting off of Marvon. There's a lot of people that do not agree with Dre's actions, but still love Marvon. And they still love Dre. A lot of them that love Marvon love Dre because that's his wife. Doesn't mean they agree with everything that she's done or even that Marvon's done. But don't think for 1 second that you are the only one that gives a shit about this man, as you call him.
I really do. Nobody gives a shit about these poor kids.
I asked this yesterday, but I go back to it again today. She says, nobody gives a shit about these kids. Tell me again, Molly, exactly how you have shown that you cared about the well-being of these children. Tell me again how you've done anything to help protect these children. Tell me again how your behaviors and what you have done have put the safety of these children at risk. Why don't we go there? Because that's probably easier for you to explain than anything else. Because you can't tell me you give a shit about these kids when you have actively participated in things that have put their lives in danger. You say people online are crazy. Yet you sent a stranger to their house to take video. Do you not see this?
They just care about sticking it to Letitia and trying to prove me wrong.
Actually, none of this started to stick it to Letitia or prove you wrong. You did that on your own. You proved yourself wrong on your own without anybody else's doings. But choices that were made by many of these opportunists involved in this story have put us where we are still. Nobody's still trying to stick it to anyone or to prove anyone wrong. Again, you've all done that on your own. What we are trying to prove is that Marvon deserves dignity. Marvon deserves to have honesty told when telling his story. Marvon deserves to stop being abused and used by the people that claim to love him. That is what was the basis for the start of this. Nothing else.
And you want to know something? That's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. Just because you see people trying to help other people that aren't as strong enough to help themselves, it doesn't make anyone a bad person. So
by choosing to help somebody that's not strong enough to help themselves, well, that was a backhanded slap to Letitia because, Molly, Letitia was doing just fine before you came in. Granted, she might not have had thousands of viewers, but they sure as hell figured out how to start a fundraiser, how to push their Cash App, how to get involved with admins from Facebook groups that had absolute hatred towards their daughter-in-law. Letitia was doing just fine before you came into this. She was doing fine. So as far as you saying people that aren't as strong to help themselves, I think you might be a little confused. Because this isn't a sign of strength of you helping Letitia. It's a sign of ignorance at this point. Because you are choosing to ignore the facts of what's happening right in front of your face on a daily.
anyone there that's saying, oh yeah, it's totally a scam, totally just such a criminal. But look, you better really honestly be sure that you know what you're talking about because that's not okay. Like,
you came on here guns blazing on July 6th, the first day that you started covering this story, you made a ton of allegations and accusations against Dre and other people. You have continued to do that daily. And you are now telling us that we need to be careful of what we accuse people of. First of all, you're an opportunist. I'll say that till I'm blue in the face. That's 100% what I will call you right now. As far as anything else, I'll let the professionals figure that out. Because, yes, now the authorities are thankfully involved. Granted, I don't know how involved they're going to get or how deep this will get. I have no clue. Do I know if they're involved in the harassment side of things? Nope, no clue. It's an investigation. They're not going to tell some random anonymous person from the internet that information. But I do know that they will get to the bottom of it.
You can't just go around doing that and think that there's no repercussions of any sort, because they will be.
And you still fail to take accountability for your own actions and how things have gotten to this point in this story. None of this had to get to this point whatsoever. If you would have just slowed down and realized, hey, some things aren't making sense. And you know what? My followers, because some of these were your followers. Some of them came from your side and are saying, I don't agree with this. Plus, I asked for a refund because things weren't making sense. And now I'm watching her dox people and I don't want to be doxed. So I'm just sitting here silently watching. Just because people asked for a refund doesn't mean they have ill intent.
And I've actually know for firsthand. I know firsthand. I've seen it. I know it. What the hell is this? That's the old one. It's the old credit card that I have to get back. Okay.
I know firsthand. I know firsthand. I've seen it firsthand. What, Molly? What have you seen firsthand? Because do you forget that a lot of the stuff that you've seen everybody else has too? Do you forget that? That a lot of this documentation has been sent around or talked about previously, if that's what you're referring to? But she does this all the time. And the sad thing is people actually believe her when she does things like this. She states, I know firsthand, I've seen it firsthand, but doesn't ever follow up. So people can't hold her, again, accountable for what she's really saying because she doesn't finish it. But she does enough just to put the thought in people's heads. The thought of, oh, yep, she's seen proof firsthand. Absolutely.
And Susie over there that wants to know everything that's in all my bank accounts and how I paid for my son's car because she wants to see everything that's in my bank account. Do you really think that Katie's going to be able to see what's in 3 of my bank accounts? That's never going to happen.
I could care less what's in her bank account. I'll be the first to tell you that. I do not care one bit. I know that she's profiting heavily off of Marvon McCray's story. I do know that. But the other thing I know is that she made a pretty hefty chunk of money in July. A pretty good chunk, around $18,000. That's kind of a low figure and only a certain portion of it, I think. But let's say that she's given Letitia Bias and Wynette and Marvon Sr., let's say combined $3,000. That's probably on the very high end. But just for devil's advocate, let's say $3,000. And on the extreme low end, she made $18,000. So you tell me who's benefiting off of this story. Do you kind of start to see? I mean, she's really raking in money off of Marvon's story. And yes, she doesn't have to donate any of it at all.
It's not going to happen. It's off the table. It's ridiculous. You have no business knowing anything about my finances.
I guess I don't really find much thrill out of conversations about finances because nonsense is a broke ass hoe. Being Contessa does not pay the bills. Anyways, just being funny, but I don't find her finances really any of our business. But I do find it our business that there's been a lot of shady things that are happening that don't quite add up. So those behaviors lead into opening up a lot more questions for a lot of people. But if it wasn't for you yourself getting on live and showing people what you made and or bragging about things that you've purchased, I don't think people would have any question about that. Because again, it's just being really unaware of what's happening. You have a family that's struggling and they are trying to see a loved one. And then you get on bragging about X, Y, and Z.
I tell you, it's a little creepy when people think that they have a right to know how somebody obtained certain things, okay? Nothing has changed about my life, okay?
And most of the time, I agree with this. Most of the time, I would say that no, it's absolutely nobody's business how certain things are obtained. But when you yourself have placed yourself in the middle of what potentially could be a problematic situation that people have been asking a lot of questions, and it involves large amounts of money, because no matter what, even $1,000 is a lot of money to a lot of people. There are problems, and people are going to start asking questions. And no one is unfairly calling you out about stuff that you yourself did not publicly speak about on your streams. This all came from your mouth while covering Marvon McCray's story. People are not understanding why we have to talk about you so much in this story, but it's because you're the one that keeps talking about it and intermixing all of this other
The thing
stuff.
that's changed is the fact that I bought my son a car, and he still hasn't even driven it yet.
And what you're failing to realize is you're being incredibly tone deaf about this situation, Molly. You are being incredibly insensitive to the situation. Marvon's story unfortunately involves a family that was having a hard time getting to Arizona to see him because of financial need, right? But then you brag.
I want to insert it. Here we go.
And this is just a little PSA because now she's parked at the gas station getting gas. But if you're going to stream, please do not stream and or drive at the same time. There are other people on the road besides just you. I know many of you don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I have a big issue with it because there are a lot of people that don't pay attention to what they're doing behind the wheel.
See, that's sad right there. That's someone being airlifted. Exactly. So yeah, makes you think. Marvon was airlifted to the hospital as well. And when he got to the hospital, they took his blood.
We do know that Marvon was initially airlifted from Yuma to Tucson. However, that was back on May 23rd, 2022. That is when the initial incident happened. And yes, it has been 15 weeks since he's been in a coma, and there are no updates on his current status or his location to the general public. I also want to remind everybody that nobody has been charged with a crime involving the incident on May 23rd, 2022. There has been no charges filed on anyone. To my knowledge, there is still an active investigation surrounding the incident on May 23rd, 2022. But that is it at this point. And if you're new to the case and didn't know, Marvon has been in a hospital around trained professionals for the entire 15 weeks. He has been in the care of doctors and nurses and other professionals who, of course, are watching out for him.
So my whole thing is a lot of time has gone by.
A lot of time has passed in this case. Like I've said multiple times, it's been over 15 weeks at this point in time. But Marvon has been in the care of professionals who are skilled at this type of situation. They have Marvon's best interest in mind at all times. They are there to help the patient. Yes, they try to assist the family of the patient also, but it never had to get to this point. And unfortunately, people keep calling APS at this point in time or CPS at this point in time. It's been 15 weeks. 15 weeks. If there was issues going on, it's being handled by those professionals. The professionals are involved. So how it's being passed off that he's still in danger because of what she's doing. I really don't think so. There has been so much going on social media that they are aware of.
And just forget it. Put me off of the table. Put Justin, L, all of us off the table. You don't find it suspicious that Miss Dre McCray won't allow the father to know where he's at?
Maybe what you should have asked your followers is, don't you find it suspicious that when Dre sent Marvon Sr. and Wynette a text apologizing for confusing them with Letitia when they initially see Marvon in Arizona, you know, that live stream we've all seen that Dre did herself and posted it on her page where she thought Wynette was Letitia, and we've heard Wynette say it over and over again that Dre was confused, yet the creators and other people have still tried to pass it off that she intentionally was doing that. But you should have asked your followers if they found it was suspicious that Marvon Sr. and Wynette have not reached out to Dre one time since that text message. Dre reached out and apologized to Wynette for getting them confused, but Wynette never responded, nor did she call to get updates on Marvon. That is, until she went live with Molly when Molly was in Chicago.
Why is that?
If you really ask yourself that, why would that be? Why would it be that she's not coming out and saying, oh, here's all his private personal information? Do you understand that the very people you've aligned yourself with were the ones to release his location in the first place? Do you understand that those people that you aligned yourself with have intentionally done things that have hurt Marvon's children? Do you not get that at all? And again, I don't think Marvon Sr. and Wynette have really done anything intentionally to put the kids at risk or Marvon at risk. Yet, when they had an opportunity to follow up and get updates on Marvon, they didn't take it because of issues Letitia was having. Letitia was mad because Dre had reached out to Wynette. They're not telling you that.
What is she hiding? I mean, you got to ask yourself the most obvious questions and then be prepared for the answers. Because guess what? We're still trying to figure out what exactly happens.
You've got to ask yourself the most obvious questions. So we all are supposed to ask the obvious questions, but not out loud. Don't you dare ask those questions out loud, or to the wrong creator, or on any day that ends in Y, or if they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or if they didn't sleep well at night. Don't ask those obvious questions because they ain't about to answer them if you ask on a day that ends in Y. Let's be very clear. Unless it fits their theories of what they are trying to get to the bottom of what truly happened here, they only want to see it against Dre. If it doesn't fit that narrative, they don't want to see it. If it's not Letitia being the victim or Wynette and Marvon Sr. now being the victims, they don't want to hear about it. Marvon is the victim. I thought this was about Marvon's story, right?
And she's radio silent.
And again, I'm very confused because at first they had a problem with the fact that she was on live at all times. She should have been at the hospital being with him or with her kids. But now this.
And would you believe me if I told you that Dre is lying about a lot of things?
Would you believe me if I told you that no, I don't believe you? Yes, she might not be telling the truth on certain things, but that's not what you're talking about. What you're talking about is what you show in the follow-up live to this one. But trust me, we will get through that because that's over an hour of footage. This was 8 minutes of a live. 8 minutes. But you intentionally do these things constantly to mislead your following.
Well, I'm sure you'd believe that because she's a fucking liar. But yeah, she's lying about a lot of things. I'm telling you, I would love to be able to jump on that computer with Justin and Elle, and we would love to tell you the things that we're sitting on. We would love to tell you what's been going on, but we can't.
You know how many times that they've used this right here of, do you know how much we would love to tell you and we're sitting on all of this stuff, but yet we can't? Then why are you on here saying all this? If you can't talk about it, then stop talking about it. Oh, wait. Letitia herself said before she wasn't talking on social media anymore because of legal getting involved, correct? This was a month ago. Letitia told the admins of the Justice for Vaughn group a month ago that she would be getting off of social media, basically. But she was still on social media as of yesterday making statements, right? And once again, I don't care if Letitia is on social media or not. What I care about is you guys saying one thing out of one side of your mouth and another out of the other side. Or one saying one thing and the other saying another.
Just look at this. $70.03. Thank you. Such a pleasure. Remember, it was like $45 to fill up my cane. You know.
Wah, wah, wah.
Whatever. Yes, give me a receipt. Yes. Yes. Come on. You're damn right I want a receipt.
Wait, did she just say, "You're damn right I want a receipt"? She wants a receipt for gas, but doesn't think that people are owed one for their donations on the fundraiser she's been helping with.
Come on. Take the receipt. Oh, I don't see one. Whatever. So anyway.
Isn't it ironic, don't you think?
Point of this video was, you know what? If I have to scream it from the rooftops, I don't think I need to scream it. I think people should really use some common sense here, and people should have compassion for the victim's family.
It's interesting to me that you expect people to extend compassion to Letitia and Marvon Sr., the biologic parents of Marvon, who put him up for adoption as a child, who has an adoptive mother, his great-grandmother, who is still alive, who raised him, who he considers his mom. You have not even shown her the same compassion, let alone Marvon's wife or children. Not one bit of compassion for them, though, right?
No matter what you might have been told. What if, since you can't believe anything that Dre says, what if I told you that these people really were being victimized by these crazy sucias that she's friends with?
Her little slang that she keeps using to call all these people that associate with Dre or anybody on this side. But what's funny is a lot of people on this side are not pro Dre. A lot of them are not fans of Dre, but they still see the bigger picture. You said use common sense. Well, you obviously are not using that common sense, or many of your followers, because there is many holes right in front of your eyes that are huge. And it doesn't mean you have to overlook the issues with Dre if you feel that there's problems there. Nobody's asking for that to happen. What we're asking for is people to wake up and smell the roses. There's a problem here. If there's something that smells, there's usually a reason for it.
Just makes you want, it brings it back to, it makes you wonder, why is she so secretive? Why is it that his own parents can't go see him? Even when she's not there. Why can't they?
But again, that's not being truthful with your followers. They have all been there to see him. Yes, only one time. But they have been there. They are his biologic parents. They had an estranged relationship. What more exactly do you think that they're owed? You sure as heck won't acknowledge his adoptive mother and her rights and or her feelings. At all, you will.
So she'd rather him be there by himself. Okay, got it. You know, fine.
But exactly how do you know that he's there by himself? First and foremost, he's never alone. There's doctors, nurses, there's somebody around at all times.
It's a little circumstantial, but we'll see. We'll see. And you want to know something? You should be really praying for these people.
Wouldn't be a Molly video without some slap in there about religion or praying. Yes, a lot of people are praying for Marvon. But even if you're not, there's a lot of people that don't believe in God or prayer that are sending good vibes and wishes.
You really should. All of them, especially Marvon, because Marvon is not out of the dark yet. He's not in the clear. But keep on talking about money and donations. Money is paper. It all goes around. I get blessed, I give it to the next person. That's how it goes.
People are going to continue to talk about the money and the donations and the refunds because you are still collecting on behalf of this fundraiser for this family. When in reality, there's issues at the very start. I'm not saying they shouldn't have been able to see Marvon, and thankfully they have been able to. But exactly what is the money needed for at this point in time? Can anybody give us an exact breakdown of what the money is going for and how much is needed?
When you're in need, when people help you out, right?
And yes, they're not the first ones to come to social media and ask for help. Not at all. Yet, usually when people donate to a fundraiser, the people that are the beneficiaries of the fundraiser are more than happy to show proof.
Is that a scam? How many people on here, I want to ask, have had a GoFundMe? How many people on here have started a GoFundMe with good intent? Were you called a scam artist all over YouTube?
Molly, you yourself have told your audience that every time you've done a GoFundMe, you've been screwed over. You yourself have told people that, and you expect them not to question things?
Nope, you probably haven't. So just think of how these people must feel. Sick. Absolutely sick.
What's really sick is none of this had to happen. Not a single bit of this had to happen. It didn't need to come to social media in the first place. Do you realize that? That's the really disturbing part in this, is Marvon has a story. His story can't even be told because we're too busy trying to update everybody on how things became such a mess and exactly why people are concerned about the fundraising and the donations that have happened so far, and why people continually ask if there's attorneys or legal representation. There has been so many stories back and forth, different stories to different people at the same time. When you have the family themselves telling different people different things, and things start getting released publicly, people are going to start asking questions. When things don't make sense, that's what people do. I would expect somebody from the true crime community to understand why transparency is so needed. When you are trying to get to the bottom of something like this, you don't muddy it with other crap over it. None of us like doing update videos, especially I don't like doing them with you involved. But you give me no choice. In order to catch people up on what's happening, we have to go over things that you're saying because you're an exclusive creator to the family, right? The family is only talking to you and Justin and Elle. That's great. They're talking to a lot of other people also. We are 15 weeks in on this story. We are 15 weeks in. And it is so confusing and muddied up that it's absolutely heartbreaking. Marvon has a story. Marvon deserves a voice. And more so than anything else, Marvon deserves dignity. All right, y'all, I'm going to leave you with this thought. I want to know from you guys what you think. Do you think that these creators are this in the dark about what's going on? Do you think that they really missed all of these pieces that have been intentionally mislaid? They speak a lot about common sense, but I don't see a lot of that common sense being used in this story. We are 15 weeks in on this story, and not a single one of these creators can answer what is justice for Marvon. What exactly will be justice for Marvon? Thank you all for watching another long video, but I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful, safe holiday weekend, and I might see you guys over the weekend. If not, I will see you back at the beginning of next week. Have a wonderful night. Thanks again for watching. Contessa, over and out.
Hey, I think you fell asleep. It's time to turn it off. Have a good night.